Good evening, everybody. This is Dullahan here with a new Dawn of War 3 shellcast. And today we have a game between The Great Escape, playing as Eldar, and myself playing as Orcs on Charon's Rest 1v1. This map is becoming a common theme for my cast so far. I haven't actually done any of the other maps as of yet, but that'll happen eventually, I'm sure, once replays are out for it. So we can see that The Great Escape is opening with double Dire Avengers, no Bone Singers early on, no second Bone Singer. And I have opened with a boys hut in my base and a Waaagh tower on this eastern side of the map, overlooking my shield generator and this area here, as well as this area here. We do have a listening post and a requisition generator coming up pretty early over here, just as the third Dire Avenger starts building. So we're not going to see a warrior portal or anything else. I guess before we get too deep into this, let's talk about which doctrines we're using. So we got the Dire Avenger shield that gives them an extra 100 shields. It's about 20% extra health for free. We got the improved listening post, so it makes sense to get this early listening post with that doctrine. And we do have the improved plasma grenades from the Great Escape. For heroes, we have a Wraith Knight with the Wraith Knight's command. I'm not sure which one that is off the top of my head. I'd have to check, unfortunately. We do have Striking Scorpions with their command, and I believe that gives Vipers a slowing shot. I'm surprised he's not using the Banshee one. And then we got Waaagh with her Waagh's Last Chance, probably. That's weird. I'm getting really confused, because sometimes it does totally show the presence here and sometimes the command, but maybe I'm wrong about that entirely. Maybe it just is inconsistent. So for me, we got tons of bombs for those shooter boys, so they will just randomly throw stick bombs while they're shooting dudes. If you're going to use shooters, you really have to use this one. I think it's almost essential. Like, you can avoid using it, but it really just makes them massively more effective. And then I have Slice 'em. So this lets Death Copters, when they use their buzzsaw, they'll attach to vehicles or structures and deal a ton of damage and slow them down. So it's pretty good against like Falcons. You can latch onto them and then they can't really escape you. And you can also use it to attack shield generators, listening posts, that sort of thing. It does a lot more damage than the regular gun. And then I have the electric shield, so when the Death Dread picks up some scrap and has a shield, it does AoE damage and slow around it until the shield's destroyed. And then I have Big Mech Waaagh using his scrap turret's presence. When units die, they turn into scrap turrets temporarily. I got the Commando also using his presence that gives rocket jumps to tank busters and killicans. And then I got the Mad Dread using his presence, which makes Waaagh last even longer. Okay, back to the game now that I've gone over the central stuff. So we do see this Waaagh tower coming up, and we got we got a boy squad and a shooter squad out for me on this eastern side, while these Gretchens kind of cap other stuff. Still no other Bone Stingers from The Great Escape, so that's kind of interesting. It is kind of seeding a lot of map control. I think he is going for this central elite point generator point, although we'll see if he actually manages to get the elite point generator up. So right now we're kind of seeing the map divided right down the middle here. We do have a webway coming up, and he does have the no, he doesn't have the Wraith Lord's command. Never mind. We do have this shooter squad getting grenaded and actually getting shot to death here for a matter of seconds. And his boy squad, overextending itself, has to run away while these Guardians are reloading. But we do have a second replacement shooter squad coming out, so it's almost like nothing happened. Almost. Gretchen's continually capping down here, so securing this half of the map. We do have a Waaagh going off here. These early game Waaghs are really important for securing map control and winning fights with these squishy early game squads. Massive speed boost, massive damage boost, etc., etc. Very, very worth having the Waaagh on. We actually see in real time what the damage buff is on units. So we see shooter boys go up to 66 DPS, so 50% more damage. And they're going to do a ton of damage to these Guardians. They actually will beat Dire Avengers in a 1v1 fight, even with the shield upgrade. But when they have the bonus damage, they just do massive damage. So in this kind of situation, you almost want to play Orcs kind of like Eldar, where you get your Waaagh, you go in, you dis the damage, and you run back to safety. You don't really want to overcommit on a lot of fights in the early game, because you can't really win a lot of them. You just want to do your damage and get out of there. In terms of generators, I have 2 requisition generators up top. One of them's finished, one of them is just being built. And we don't have any further generators from the Great Escape. He hasn't actually gone up to get this resource node, which is a bit strange. But he is positioning himself in this center area. He kind of built a staging ground. He's building a second webway up here. So he's not using the Reflex command. He can't actually move this one, unfortunately, at this point in time. I do have a listening post coming up here. So, again, we're seeing the map really divided in half here, with the Great Escape kind of having a forward position. And not as a superior army, but I think he has quite a bit more oomph. We do have this one Diverger squad getting caught out by the Shooters and taking a ton of damage, being wiped out. This one Shooter squad's pretty low. And we do have this one Boy squad down here at the shield gen, but not helping with this fight. We do have the Guardians kind of making a mistake. I think they ran into this Waaagh tower, not expecting it to be there, and they're taking a lot of damage from it, actually. It is going to wipe that second squad. But this one Shooter squad's just barely alive, and it's probably not going to get away from this Dire Avenger squad. But at the same time, this Dire Avenger squad is a little overextended against these Shooters. We do have this one last heroic stick bomb, which actually did massive damage to that Dire Avenger squad. And this Boy squad still just chipping away at the shield generator. Not going to kill it very quickly, but if you are going to attack them with the shield gen with the boys, you want to make sure you hype them up for that bonus damage. So at this point in the game, we both lost a few squads. Not exactly the crazy high level play, but I think this is a really interesting game, so that's why I'm casting it. Normally, I don't like to cast a lot of my own games. Sometimes I do if I got stuff to show, but this one's really fun. I want people to see it. So we do got Striking Scorpions coming in, just kind of scare the boys off from the shield generator. And then we do have another 2 Dire Avenger squads coming out, fresh squads from the Great Escape, to replace those that he lost. And he did get this point up here. He's building generators up here as well. He does have the power generator up here. But I think in terms of generators, I got 3 requisition generators. I don't have a power generators at this point in time. Some of those are nice. If you're going to go for trucks early on, you need the power to get them faster. But if you're going for a lot of infantry like I am, you kind of don't really want to spend your requisition on that. You want to be using it for reinforcements. This is kind of a risky engagement. Some of these squads are really low health. This Slugger squad's really low. This one Shooter squad just got picked off. And this one Boy squad is also going to die here. And we do have this listening post. It's probably going to die to these Striking Scorpions doing backflips with their swords. So we do have the longer Waaagh upgrade being researched by me. I really like that upgrade because it gives you an extra 15 seconds to take advantage of your Waaagh. I remember how I said they're kind of a hit and run. That gives you a lot more time to hit them before you have to run away. If you don't want to engage after Waaagh is over because you lose your speed bonus, and that's the only way you're really going to escape from Fleet of Foot Eldar or Assault Marines. So we do have the Striking Scorpions coming up here. This is a bit of a risky engagement for them because they are missing most of their shields, which is the vast majority of their hit points. And we do have the Commandos ready to come in and help defend. Yeah, he's coming in up top here. So he's going to help. Using the Hunt ability next to Gretchen's not going to be super effective because they won't be able to detect those Striking Scorpions, but they are kind of running away anyway. Running away really quickly because they are in Fleet of Foot range. But we do have another Waaagh coming off here. And the longer Waaagh upgrade is just finishing. I believe that will still affect at this point. That was actually almost perfect timing. Commando coming in here just blasting these Striking Scorpions apart in seconds. He does massive AoE damage, but they are going to get away with just one guy left. We do have these Dire Avengers kind of huddling for protection together, probably doing space out things. And we have a Daka hut coming up over here. And we do have another requisition generator up here. We don't have any... We do have a warrior portal up here, actually, and Banshee squads coming out. So we have kind of an engagement on this high ground. Dire Avengers using the high ground. They're going to grenade these boys to stop them from using their hype ability. And some more stick bombs coming out. The Commando's going to run in here and punch these guys, and it's going to knock them all over. Fun fact about the Commando is he can knock dudes over in melee, even though he can't do a lot of damage. Commando again blasting a bunch of dudes. So these Shooters are really the backbone of this army here against these Dire Avengers. They do really good damage against them. And the boys are mostly just there just to scare them off. And we are going to see the Commando do some fun stuff with his webway. He's going to lay down a trap here. With his stun trap here, it'll stun units that are nearby. But if you actually rig it as a booby trap, it does massive damage after a few seconds delay. And that's actually enough damage to kill a Webway outright, which is a little fun fact. One thing I should have done in this game is you can actually turn this scrap, I believe there's 2 pieces of crap, into a Waaagh banner. So you can get an extra Waaagh tower up real easy. You can see how much damage the Commando did when he stunned those Dire Avengers, and we have a whole other army in a rout. Again, these stick bombs being extremely useful. So we have 3 Dire Avengers, 2 of them extremely weak, and a Dark Reaper squad. Again, the map is still kind of divided in half here. We do have a bunch of generators up here from me, and more power generators on this side, although this one's being harassed by these striking scorpions. They're a bit overextended here by themselves, honestly. It's pretty risky for them to do this, especially with the Gretchens nearby to detect them. Yeah, they are being detected here. And they might be able to run away here just because they're fast, but... Nope, they're actually still kind of engaging. Oh, no, they're running away. But we do have a, kind of a bit of a push coming down here towards the shield generator, possibly for a bash. And but we do have the same thing happen over here with the Great Escape moving his units in to attack this shield generator. So it looks like we're going to be in for a trade scenario here. Striking Scorpions using the shield to protect them from these shooters while they melee these boy squads. And then we do have the Dark Reapers making really short work of this shield generator with the help of those Dire Avengers. In terms of other upgrades, we do have infantry damage level 1 from me, but we don't have anything yet from the Great Escape. He hasn't built a Soul Shrine just yet. Commando and melee with these striking Scorpions, laying down his trap here. And we do have Waaagh, it appears, teleporting in here, which is going to force the Orc units to retreat. And this poor Commando is probably not going to make it out of here. Yeah, he's getting knocked down by these striking Scorpions and obliterated into pieces. So that's a pretty bad engagement for me, actually. I lost my Commando, and he killed my shield gen while I didn't really kill his. But we have another Waaagh tower coming up over here in a more offensive position. These squads are kind of out to lunch. Okay, now they're going to go up here and they're going to kill all these generators, which is another big blow to the Orcs. Still no Soul Shrine from the other player, unfortunately. And we do have another Waaagh coming off over here with these Ludas as well to help join this force from the Daka Hut. So that's going to give all these squads a lot more damage. For example, these Ludas are going to go from 61 DPS, and with Waaagh, they're going to go to 92. So you got to really make sure you're playing Orcs. You got to use the Waaagh. It's such a buff. You do, I think, 50% more damage. And now all these units are actually caught out over here from doing this kind of flanking maneuver. And they're going to take massive damage from these Ludas. You just see how much damage these squads have taken in a matter of seconds here. Dark Reaper squad's going to die here. And then these Ludas are back here. We do have Dire Avengers still stuck over here as well, kind of forgotten about. But so while the heroes are over on this side of the map, you can engage with the Waaagh. With that buff duration, it's going to last a really long time. And you're going to be able to do massive damage to the other forces on this side of the map. I believe we killed 2 Dire Avengers and the Dark Reaper squad, and the Warrior Portal looks like it's going to go down as well. But the heroes are coming in here, the elite units, between Waaagh and the Striking Scorpions, and the Banshee squad just barely comes out of the Warrior Portal in time to mess up Yoshida's day. Stick Bomb's kind of whiffing, and we're going to see that Boys squad die over there, and his Banshee squad's almost dying here, which is barely escaping with its life. And a third Waaagh tower coming down over here. Again, fortifying this eastern front. We do have a requisition, a very bold requisition generator over here. And this one Dire Avenger squad finally moving in to capture this point up top. And we do have this one Luda squad just barely getting away here. Kind of using the shock ability, hoping to catch Waaagh, but alas, she was just out of range. So actually, map control-wise, it's kind of looking in Great Escape's favor, even though he took a ton of damage in that last engagement. He kind of dished out a fair amount himself. And his elite units are in position to go for this shield generator at this point. We do have another Luda squad coming out here to help defend. These Luda squads are being pretty useful with these shooters. No boy squads on the field at the moment. They all kind of died off. We do have infantry health level 1 researched, and enough to get to the level 2 versions as those as well. So we have another Waaagh coming off over here. And we do have a Bone Sinner coming up here, probably build another listening post. And more Banshees coming out. So we got a transition in the Banshees in this mid-game. So we have another Waaagh coming off here. And these units are going to go down here and probably kill these generators. These generators are kind of risky to put up because they're going to be killed off before they can actually make any money. And we have the Commando coming back into the field here to help defend the base against these Banshees. These units are all clumped up. They're going to take massive damage from the Commando's shotguns. So you can see it just took off a ton of health there, stunning them all. The Waaagh Tower's doing a ton of damage. And then they're basically forced off the retreat right away. And these shooters are back. You see the speed buff from the Waaagh lets them be extremely mobile. We do have this very bold elite point generator as well. And Sick Bomb's coming down on those Striking Scorpions, doing a fair amount of damage to them. And this Luda squad in the bubble is going to force them from not to be a little too brave. This Striking Scorpion keeps escaping just barely over and over again. But yeah, I really can't stress enough how useful that Waaagh ability is for orc mobility and damage dealing. So at this point the map is still kind of divided in half like this, with his base on this side and my base on this side. And we have Waaagh hitting the field. Very powerful elite. I've done videos on him before. He's just going to go down to the shield generator and shoot it with his true damage gun. You can see he's actually... I think he's outside of range of this Waaagh Tower, but again, this unrelenting use of the Waaagh ability just lets you initiate so many attacks. We do have another Webway coming up on this side to boost his forces. We do have the Elite Point Generator going down, and we have some knobs coming out. In terms of upgrades, we do have no vehicle damage. We do have infantry damage level 2 coming up. You can see Waaagh can just shoot this thing all day. He doesn't kill it extremely quickly, but he kills it fast enough that it's worth doing. But poor Commando getting a bit too close to these Banshees and Striking Scorpions, and he's going to get killed again. Cut into pieces. And these shooters are forced to retreat, even though they had the Waaagh bonus. But now we have the knobs coming out. And we still have 2 Ludas on the field. And Waaagh is just slowly killing. With the orbital scrap, he can actually do massive damage as well. It does do true damage. So it's good against everything. And Waaagh is going to kill this shield generator pretty much uncontested. This is one of the reasons you want to put units inside of the shield generator, because Waaagh, I don't think he can actually enter into the shield, although he might be able to, but his melee damage isn't that good. Actually, it's not bad, it's 40 DPS, but you know, I think the point is, if you have something, even if it's an AFK Bone Singer, it makes it a little bit harder for that sort of harassment to work. So we do have the knobs kind of initiating here, with the backed up by the Ludas, but as I don't have any Waaagh, I don't really want to engage without the Waaagh. We do have a Waaagh Tower up here though, so what we're probably going to see is Waaagh Tower come up there. We got some tank busters coming out for some shield damage, or one tank buster anyway. And we got a lot of power, so we're going to see some vehicles start to come out here from the mech shop. You really don't want to be engaging without Waaagh as works, so you want to make sure you're always using your Waaagh. With the longer Waaagh upgrade, which is really cheap and available extremely early on, you can almost always have Waaagh going once you reach your mid-game and got more than one Waaagh Tower. And once you kind of train your opponent to expect an attack every time you Waaagh, you can actually kind of feint him out, where you use Waaagh on one side, and then you attack him from a flank he's not really expecting, or otherwise surprise him. So you see Waaagh using his tractor beam on these Striking Scorpions to pull them in away from their forces and take a ton of damage. These knobs are kind of tanking everything right here. But the Striking Scorpions are in melee with Waaagh. Waagh's melee is actually a lot better than I thought. And blowing up the knobs, but Maka's last chance is there to kind of save the day. Yeah, so I guess if she's alive you can see her presence, but you can't see it when they're not alive. So that's something I need to keep in mind, I guess, with future casts. We do have a pair of Wraithguard hitting the field now from Great Escape. So he did tech into the Infinity Portal. And we do have infantry damage and shields upgraded, and no other upgrades at this point in time. Maka here kind of overextended a bit, but she's going to escape here as well. And a Death Copter coming out to do some harassment here. So yeah, this is 2 scrap pieces, so you can build a Waaagh tower or even 2 scrap piece units out of this. But my suggestion, if you do manage to destroy a webway, is build a Waaagh tower, because cheap Waaagh towers means cheaper tech, and it lets you get units a lot faster. So again, we got another Waaagh coming up here. Always attack with Waaagh. And the Death Copter is actually pulling some units away from his area here. And we got the Gretchens in for scouting and for detection against the striking Scorpions. And this one squad's getting picked off, so he's really being attacked before he even realizes it here. Tractor beam on Maka to pull her in at range of these knobs, and they're gonna melee her. But using stasis, kind of a counter to this. The only way to knock her out of this is to knock her down with something. You could do it with a grenade or orbital scrap, because everything's tied up. It gives them a lot of time to reconsolidate their forces and kind of reorganize. It also gives you time to reinforce. So if you're going to use stasis, you really got to have a plan. And Wraithguard kind of wasted shots on these boys. Commando coming in here as well. And he's going to go over here and tie those guys up. We do have Maka using her last chance ability. And Knobs using their taunt ability. We do have Waaagh calling scrap down on these immobile Dark Reaper squads. So against units that can't move, his scrap is really powerful. It also works really good against units in melee. And we do have this one boys coming up here to get this Wraithguard off the high ground. And this one Knob squad really low, needs to go home. Using the tractor beam on this Wraithguard to pull them in closer so they can't escape, and they take a ton of damage from the tractor beam as well. Yeah, Bone Sinner's actually beating up some boys over here. So it looks like a bunch of Orc units have died, but it looks like this Wraithguard squad's gonna die for sure. And we do have a Killacan out here just to do some extra damage with those rockets. And Commando just being a little cheeky, setting off some bombs. It actually did a ton of damage, even though this Wibble Gate was all the way over here. Look how much damage he did. It's quite significant. Looks like he's kind of just digging for buried treasure over there. There's one Wraithguard squad getting jibbed by these rockets. Once those shields go down, those Wraithguard do not last long. But this one boy squad looks like he's going to die as well. The Death Copter up here actually got killed by the Wraithguard, I believe. Only doing half the listening post. So we do have, I think, a generator lead. Although I think we all have full generator saturation except for this one power over here. Doesn't look like anything's upgraded as of yet. Although this one's upgraded to level 2. So, from the Great Escape, we just have one Wraithguard squad, one Banshee squad. So I think in that engagement he actually came out behind. He did lose a lot. And in terms of upgrades, we do have vehicle damage level 1 coming out to buff those knobs. But for Great Escape, we do have vehicle... he's got all the upgrades queued up here. So he's got a lot of money tied into these upgrades. He is floating a massive amount of requisition, actually. That is pretty ridiculous. That is an epic amount of resources to have tied up. So we're going to see another Waaagh here. Again, always Waaagh in to initiate and doing that Alpha Strike damage. And we do have him using his Eldritch Storm. Well, he is building that Elite Point Generator again as well. Whenever someone uses the Eldritch Storm, just kind of walk away. If you get caught in it, you're going to take a ton of damage because it does a ton of slow, but if you just walk away and let them waste it, it's not going to do anything to buildings. And personally, I think this is the wrong way to use Eldritch Storm, because if you actually use the Conduit, it does way more damage, and it basically lets you push into anything. We do have Wraithguard that are pretty low, kind of poking at this big mech shop. Let's see if he spent this money yet. Oh, he spent a bunch of requisition queuing up these Dark Reapers and Dire Avengers and some Wraith Plates. So he did tech up to tier 3 as by the Eldritch Storm. And he does have 6 elite points, so likely we're going to see the Wraith Knight pretty soon here, and we're also going to see the Mad Dread pretty soon for me. Again, another Waaagh over here. These units are going to run down. You can start the Waaagh early, as long as you get within that circle that's radiating from it in time, you will benefit from the Waaagh. In this case, I think I timed it a bit wrong, so I only got about half my dudes. I think I kind of realized that a bit late, which is why I activated the second Waaagh tower. But we do have that elite point generator. Oh, it didn't quite die. Excuse me. But almost dead. So at this point, I'm kind of positioning to go in for a push at this turret because this middle area is contested. He can't really defend it from where he is. And so if you go in, this is going to force a mass recall. Using the Gretchen to kind of bait the turret into a bad positioning here. So yeah, we do have mass recall being activated and pulling all those units away, but the turret is going to go down. And the Soul Shrine might actually go down too. At this point, you did your damage, you just want to run away. Especially, you want to run while you still have the Waaagh bonus. That's extremely important because of the speed buff. It lets you actually outrun almost anything. So running back to the base, we do have the Mad Dread coming in here. Wraith Knight probably coming in a minute or two. Unfortunately, there's one knob getting kind of cornered in. These Wraith Blades absolutely shred knobs. So you don't have the counter you want, but you have lots of tank buses and some killer cans. So kind of a lot of rockets. Rockets really good against Wraith units. And we do have the Elder kind of position himself for an engagement on the bottom here. But you can see all those rockets just do crazy damage to the striking Scorpions. Mad Dread doing tons of damage. He's digging a hole over here. To stun and disrupt all these units. You can also travel through those tunnels. Really good for harassment. You can see how much damage he's doing to these Wraith Guard. He's just absolutely destroying them. He does 111 melee DPS, and that's before Waaagh. With Waaagh, he does 50% more. Again, Waaagh is just as good for your elites as it is for your regular units. And those Wraithblade are going to use the Soul Recall ability just to escape. Just barely with their lives. And Waaagh is just barely going to escape as well. But that was a pretty decisive win. Elder's down to 2 Guardian Dire Avengers and some Wraithblade. He's again queued up tons of units. He has tons of requisition here. So he can totally do that. He's getting some upgrades slowly. Looks like he got damage 1, shields, or damage 2, shields 2, and vehicles damage and shields 1. We do have a Knob Squad coming over here to mop up these generators. And then we do have a last couple more Waaagh towers coming up just so we can get the Rocks ability and get the full tech unlocked. Another Waaagh coming up over here. Again, just always using Waaagh to initiate. It's really important. As in with the Mad Dread on the field, it actually has a longer duration, so you can even do a lot more longer engagements. Heavily put generator in last night, and this is probably the Wraith Knight coming in here, I believe. You can see with the Waaagh, the damage bonus lets you just insta-kill squads, and you can just run away. So it works really more than Eldar even. Really benefit from a hit-and-run playstyle, I think. Especially once you got all these range units. And the Wraith Knight a little overextended jumping into all these Orc units. And you're just going to see him get tractor beams, so he can't really run away. And none of these other units are around to support, so it's just going to take massive damage from all these units. Even with Last Chance, he's still going to melt here. They're just waiting and waiting, and tractor beam resumes, and yeah, there goes the Wraith Knight, so he didn't last very long. Worth noting, the Wraith Knight, I believe, is 3 scrap, so you can actually build a heavy track gun from that. I don't think there's anything else that requires 3 scrap. I never Waaagh coming off here, so just to rub salt on the wound. Even though these units aren't really full health or healed up or anything, just use Waaagh and engage. This army is not really enough to stop this. But in this case, I think this is going to be a push towards the power core. And these Wraith units are in position, but I don't think they're enough. to fight this massive orc blob alone. So he's actually just going to lose these units within seconds here. Again, Waaagh does 50% more damage, so everything here does way more damage. You gotta use this constantly. I see a lot of replays, even from very good players, where they aren't using Waaagh effectively, and it's so important to always be using Waaagh to engage, especially in the late game. And so we're gonna see here, there's rocks coming down here. This Deathcopter can actually pick up the rocks. So we are going to see, and again, another Waaagh coming off over here. It's just relentless. Absolutely relentless. You want to make sure you stay in the radius, though. This orange circle gives you a pretty good indication. I think it extends a little bit farther than the actual ability. You can see when you highlight it how far it goes. And again, using the Waaagh in here and timing this ever so right with the Deathcopter, just to drive in right on top of his units here. And pop. So, if you want to rub a little bit of salt in the wound, that's how you can kind of finish a game real quick. Anyway, I hope the key takeaways from watching this game is I hope you guys realize how powerful the Waaagh ability is and how to use it in every time you're fighting. Just do hit and run tactics with the orcs. It works extremely well with their playstyle because they need to reinforce a lot. And it also, the way Killicans work and all that stuff, they do a lot of burst damage. Just do your burst damage and go home. And I find it's really successful in the mid-late game. Thanks for watching. Bye.